For a country that's used to fighting wildfires,
because of the smoke.
Even by Greek standards, this is terrifying. The government says the evacuation of the island of Rhodes is the largest in its history. For Janina and her 2 children, a place in the sun descended into a holiday on the run. The climate emergency is poolside.
Halfway through our lunch, and people started running in saying we need to get out. And it was so quick, we all ran down to the beach. And then they just kept telling us just to keep moving down the beach. I mean, it got to the point where no one could see. Everyone had to like cover their faces, and everyone was like, you know, couldn't breathe properly. So I had my 11-year-old and my 7-year-old, who were obviously terrified, thinking we're going to die. And then these local people just came because so many people were just coming with boats and just chucked us on a boat and just went off. And we could just see flames like behind me. And it just happened, like it just really spread really, really fast. At one point when I couldn't contact my family and someone said that the whole beach was gone, I did think that they were all dead.
Janina is reunited with her family, now sleeping in a sports hall on a safer part of the island. Others spent the night on beaches and streets. Tour operators Jet2 and TUI cancelled flights leaving for Rhodes as thousands lined up to get out. While EasyJet says it's operating as normal, but customers can change flights. Is this the risk we now take, holidaying in record-breaking heat waves?
Your life!
Here, a firefighter begs a tourist to abandon her suitcase. In Rome, where soaring temperatures also broke records, the Pope had this message for world leaders.
We are experiencing here and in many countries extreme climatic events. I renew my appeal to the leaders of the nations to do something more concrete to limit polluting emissions. It's an urgent challenge and cannot be put off. It concerns everyone.
In Greece, everyone's a firefighter. Climate change is driving hotter summers, and there are warnings of wildfires in almost half of the country. Holidays are ruined, but homes are lost too. Our heart is here, she says. Please save us. The tourists will fly back to their homes, while the islanders have just lost theirs.
Emily with the reporting. Well, a short while ago, I talked to the former firefighter and wildfire expert, Lyndon Pronto. I began by asking him what conditions are like for firefighters on Rhodes.
Essentially, you're up against extreme conditions, extreme heat, high winds, low relative humidity, which is fanning the flames even more. It's making the vegetation more explosive. And so you have very difficult conditions which don't allow for containment very easily. And in a chaotic situation like this, the first and foremost point is to help people get out and safe. And so the strategy for actually containing the fire is kind of in the second place.
These fires have been burning in the interior of the island of Rhodes for some time now. They've now reached the resorts, which is why we've noticed them. How good a job are the Greek authorities doing in containing this fire?
Well, one has to say, I mean, this isn't really up to the authorities. This is nature. When you have high winds and fires spreading at that rate of spread, you can't really do much, whether you're an authority or whether you're a firefighter. What you can do is basically get out of the way and wait for better weather. First of all, it's extremely dangerous. There has to be a cost-benefit analysis in terms of what is actually being effective in terms of containment strategies. Under such conditions, the effectiveness of your extinguishing abilities are very limited.
Should tourists stay away from these areas? I mean, is that what you would advise people to do, not to get on planes to Rhodes right now?
Absolutely. I think we have an awareness of, we monitor tropical storms on the daily weather reports, and fire weather is predictable. It is forecastable. So this needs to be also integrated into our communication strategies in terms of informing tourists. I think the tourism sector, it's a multi-billion-dollar sector. They could also do more in terms of preparing tourists. Tourists are fueling a lot of these communities. That has to be said. And that's what makes it a conundrum. That's what makes it you don't want to scare people away because their livelihoods depend on tourism. And if I look at the imagery that's flowing out of Rhodes right now, it's a very fine line between everybody making their way to the beach in crowds like that. But if the fire were actually in that area or crossing the road, or if they became trapped, we would have hundreds of fatalities. I mean, it would be an absolute catastrophe.
What would you advise people to do? Tourists who are there, who are, caught between the flames and the sea.
One thing could be you have a go bag. If you know you're going into an area that could be prone to environmental disaster, which you would have to get out, just having something ready, having some drinking water.
And then you've got fires in Canada, you've got fires in the Canaries. I mean, it seems to be really bad this year. Is it unusually bad?
I think it's too early to tell. Certainly, we have a simultaneity of events going on different continents. Suffice to say, this is the new normal, having extreme fires occurring in one place or another. And it's time that we actually, learn to live with fire, is what we say in the fire management community.
What can we do to kind of adapt to this, what you call the new normal, to live with these fires, to make sure that they're not quite as ferocious as they appear to be at the moment?
As institutions, we manage the fuels, we protect our infrastructure, we invest in prevention, awareness raising, we invest in programs in schools that people take individual responsibility for protecting their homes, their crops, their livestock. And then, of course, there's, funding, which is always a big issue, especially in an economically hard-hit country like Greece.
I'm happy to see your fire jacket hanging on the peg there behind you. Is that just in case? You're always prepared?
Well, I don't do much active firefighting anymore, but what I do is a lot of work in prescribed burning. So yeah, I get to play with fire a lot. Good fire, as we like to call it. We need more good fire in these landscapes and less fire suppression reaction fire.
We'll take your word for it. Lyndon Pronto, fascinating. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.